Let's talk about circumference of a circle. We just got finished doing perimeter and area. Circumference is kind of like perimeter. We don't call it perimeter because perimeter deals with sides, and since the circle doesn't have any sides, I suppose the equivalent to perimeter would be circumference, which is nothing but the walk around the circle, okay? And the way we find the circumference is we take the diameter. Now the diameter is the line that goes straight through the center of the circle to the other side. And we multiply by pi. This is the pi sign which we've been given, and pi in this case is we're going to keep it at 3.14. If we ever use fractions and need to use the fractional equivalent, that would be 22/7, which when divided will turn out to be 3.14, and a lot of other numbers after that, but we usually cut it off at the hundreds place, okay? So on this particular one, if you want to find the walk around, simply take the diameter, the 6, and multiply it by 3.14. So when I multiply the 6 by 3.14, we have 6 times 4 is 24, 6 and 2 more make 8, and 18. Now, remember what we do with the decimals. We see how many numbers we have to the right of the decimal, and we have 2. So we need to start at the end and move over 2 places. The answer to this, the circumference of this circle with a diameter of 6 inches is 18.84 inches, okay? All right, let's try this decimal one. The diameter has been given as 7.2. So I'm going to take the 3.14, which is pi, and I'm going to multiply by 7.2. Now I'm going to go ahead and write the answer, and then we're going to place the decimal, okay? The answer on this one. Now, let's figure out where the decimal place should go. 2 numbers to the right of the decimal, 1 number to the right, so let's start here and move over 3 places. 1, 2, 3. The answer is 22.608, or you could round it up to 22.61, depending on whatever the request might be. Now, a lot of times you're not given diameter. Sometimes you're only given radius, so we need to talk about that as well, okay? Let's say that you have a circle, and this time they're giving you the radius. Now the radius is nothing but half the diameter, so you know it takes 2 of those to make the diameter. So in this particular case, if the radius were 4 inches, the formula is going to be not diameter times pi. It's going to be, the circumference is going to be 2 times the radius, which is equal to the diameter, times pi. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 times pi is back where we started, which is 3.14 times 8, and then multiply as we have done, okay? All right, now let's talk about, since we talked about the circumference, which is the walk around, let's discuss area of a circle now. Alrighty, let's say, well, first of all, let's draw ourselves a nice big circle, and I'm going to tell you that area, now remember, area is not the walk around. Area is like we're carpeting this whole circle inside. So area here is going to be, this time I do want the radius, and I want the radius squared. That's not double, that's squared. We'll talk about that. Radius squared times pi, okay? So in this particular case, I need to take the radius, which is 3, and I need to square it before I multiply by 9. So 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 3.14, 9 times 3.14 will be, when you multiply, will be 28.14 0.26. But we've got to put square inches on there. So inches square or square inches. Okay? Let's try another one. What if we had, let's just say the radius is 7 inches. Okay? 7 inches. Now, I'll need radius squared, right? So that's going to be 7 squared times pi. And 7 squared, don't multiply by 2. 7 squared, 49 times 3.14. I'll let you work that out yourself. But you know the direction that we're going here. Okay? Now let's try this one. Sometimes, even though we want radius, they end up giving us the full diameter. And this time I'll give you a decimal to make it exciting. The full diameter is 4.6. Now I don't want the diameter, I just want the radius. So I'm going to have to divide this in half. And when I divide 2 into 4.6, I'm going to get 2.3. So the radius in this case is 2.3. But that's not 2.3 doubled. That is 2.3 squared. 2.3 times 2.3, which is 5.29. And once we multiply 5.29 by 3.14 and move our decimal over, we should be at 16.6106. And depending on how, you can keep going out on these quite a ways. You might want to just drop off after the tenths or the hundredths place, which would be pretty good. So if you're given the full diameter, you need to half it to get the radius, then square the radius. After you've squared the radius, we want to multiply that figure, that number, by 3.14. And the last thing we need to do is we need to say square feet or square inches, because we're talking about the entire inside of the circle and not just the walk around. Okay? All right, and the last thing on this video that I want to talk to you about is volume. Okay, let me draw a three-dimensional cube here for you. Okay, volume is going to be the inside of this cube. And the formula for a volume is really very easy. If you know the length, the width, and the height, all you have to do is multiply those three. But it's not going to be square anymore. It's going to be cubed, or to the third. Okay? So let's say that we have a cube, and the length, the width, and the height are each 3 inches. So in this case, it would be 3 times 3 times 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. But it's not going to be square inches. It's going to be 27 inches cubed, because we're dealing with three-dimensional there. Okay? Now let's try a rectangular one. It's still going to be length times width times height, but we are going to have different numbers this time. So let me give you a rectangular prism. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that the length on this is 8 feet, and the width is 5 feet, and the height is 4 feet. So all we have to do on our rectangular prism is simply multiply 8 times 5 times 4. So let's set it up. 8 times 5 times 4. And 8 times 5 is 40. And 40 times 4 is 160. Now, since we're talking about feet, it's not just feet. It's not square feet. Three-dimensional object needs to be feet cubed. 160 feet cubed, or you can go 160 cubic feet. Either way, that would be just fine. Well, if you've made it all the way through these modules, you have now come to the end of Math 098. I'm proud to have taught you. I hope that you learned a lot, and best wishes to you as you continue with your math.